All right, I want to bring in our legal panel to break down everything we heard today on the stand and outside the stand, in the hallways of that courtroom. I'm joined by NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber, and Mercedes Colwin is a trial attorney and legal analyst. Thank you both for being here. Let's start with the gag order hearing, which is what started off the case. We heard, apparently, the prosecutors said that Trump has repeatedly, willfully, and blatantly violated it, quote, both online and in person. They provided several examples. They're not asking for him to be put in jail, which many defendants might find happening to them. They're asking for a fine. How do you think he's going to rule?
I think the judges pretty much had it with former President Trump and likely will try to fine him. I mean, there's sanctions. And exactly to your point, he could face jail time, for other defendants have done so when they've had contempt of court. Here, what the prosecutors are asking is for $1,000 for each violation.
That's nothing for him.
Exactly. It's a pittance when you talk about it. But the judges really pretty much had it because he continues to instruct him to stop talking, and he doesn't stop.
Yeah, Jesse, I was really struck by the fact that as Todd Blanche, Trump's lawyer, tried to explain what Trump meant when he said and did the things that he said and did that prosecutors say violated the gag order, the judge finally lost his patience with Trump's lawyer and said, quote, "You are losing all credibility with the court." That is not how you want to start a trial.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's bad to hear that at any point in a trial, let alone at the very beginning of the trial. Now, of course, that was outside the presence of the jury, who are the most important people to hear this case. But look, we are getting dangerously close to the possibility that the more Trump goes on the lines of violating the gag order, he is going to have to consider, is there another remedy to show that I'm serious about this? And remember, Donald Trump has the ability to attack Alvin Bragg, to attack the process. He can't go after the witnesses. And I have to say, I was surprised that Todd Blanche didn't come with an arsenal of, this is what Michael Cohen said, this is what Stormy Daniels said. Yeah. All of these examples of ways that he was responding, and that he didn't have that. It's like when you're your teacher, you're saying you're unprepared, you didn't do the homework.
And to be clear, this gag order is that you can't say anything negative about the jurors that would endanger them. And
or witnesses.
This is the tweet, or the witnesses, and this is the tweet that got him into trouble, one of many today. He had quotes around it, and he also misquoted a Fox News host saying they're catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury. That's the kind of thing that he's putting out there that the judge is very concerned about, because we've already had one juror drop out in tears saying she couldn't take it anymore. People found out who she was.
Exactly. There's been a lot of information during voir dire that was disclosed during the jury selection process. So there is a real risk that some of these jurors might actually be gone after. I mean, that's one of the issues that's really at the heart of it, is they need to protect these jurors. They need to protect their confidential information. If it's all out there and you have someone saying, look, these are activists that are on the jury, I'm not going to get a fair trial, that's really problematic and could put them at risk.
All it takes is one mentally ill person who feels, who agrees with that, to go do something absolutely insane that could really put a person doing their civic duty.
I mean, we saw somebody light themselves on fire outside of the courthouse. Now, it wasn't connected to it, but that's the danger.
All right, Jesse, what did you make of the fact that David Pecker today testified not only that he had never used catch and kill before Trump, this was the first time he ever did this, but that some of these witnesses, like the doorman who was trying to sell the story that Trump fathered an illegitimate child, it was proven to be untrue, but nonetheless, it's an embarrassing, seamy, scandalous story. He was released from his non-disclosure agreement as soon as the 2016 election was over.
Never did catch and kill with Trump even before the election. That's the point. The more that you tie it to the election, the more you get to that idea that he falsified the business records for criminal intent in order to help himself with the campaign. Now, I will tell you, did he fill in a lot of the gaps for the prosecution? Did he help bolster the credibility of Michael Cohen, who will ultimately testify? Sure. But Elizabeth, I would be remiss if I didn't just mention this one point. I am still suspicious of the prosecution's underlying theory that there is an underlying crime. For the first time, what was it, today, we heard what is the underlying crime? It's a New York State election law. The idea is you cannot promote a candidate through unlawful means. Now, unlawful means is very broad, but I'm still not clear if this is criminal conduct. We can easily say that the records are false, right? They're not supposed to be labeled legal expenses. Was it excuse me, was it done to further the election law, to further the election, to violate New York election law?
But
that's a hard bar.
But if you're releasing all these people from their non-disclosure agreements as soon as the 2016 election is over, if you're Trump asking, do we still have to pay Stormy Daniels now that the election's over? I mean, doesn't the argument that I was trying to save my family embarrassment not wash any longer?
It goes right out the window. Exactly that. And to your point, Jesse, what they're trying to do is trying to get misdemeanors, because falsifying business records are misdemeanors, into the felony camp. And by doing so is making the connection that you were talking about.
But is it illegal is that illegally influencing the election? That's the argument I would make. And I think that's something that's going to have to be tightened up by the prosecution.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.